So I'm sitting in the office of Kevin, who is the VP of HR, and he has my own resignation letter printed out, and he slides it across the desk for me to sign. This was my first job out of college. I had started this job roughly 2 or 3 months before, and this was my first job out of school. It was like a grown-up job. It was like a dad job, you know what I mean? Like, I had to wear a suit to work. I was living in Manhattan. I was taking the subway every day to work. It was like this great whirlwind of like living in New York City. It was exactly like the show that I had watched to prepare myself for living in New York City, Sex and the City. Absolutely. Sex and the fucking City. I love that show. Because like, those first couple seasons weren't so much about like Manolo Blahniks and fabulousness and all that stuff. They had like, it was a lot about like New York, and they had like man on the street interviews, and like I was just like really excited to like be a part of the kind of world that existed in Sex and the City. Does it belabor the point to say that I was like really naive? I was 22 years old. So to prepare for the job, they sent us 2 books in the mail. One was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is pretty standard for any job. And the other was Good to Great, which was a book about what separates like 2 similar companies. Like one's good, one's really great. And they had some good ideas in there. Like one of them was like a great company sets like really audacious goals and tries to meet them. But then I got a little freaked out when I read the chapter on cultivating a cult-like atmosphere. I was like, I don't know about that. And once I started working for this company, I noticed some of the cult-like atmosphere. Like we all worked at desks, and at the end of the night, we were like encouraged to like wipe down our desks. So one night I was actually doing this. I was wiping my desk down with 409 or something like that. And one of the VPs comes by and he goes, "Hey, there's a guy who likes his workstation clean." And he held out his hand and I shook it. And I felt like a little dirty for shaking. You know what I mean? I was like, I shouldn't be proud of this. I don't know why I'm doing that. And one day I wore my Walkman into work. Yeah, Walkman. 1999. So I had my Walkman, and my manager saw me, and he's like, you know, you may not want to wear your Walkman. This is my manager, Ben, who was like a dude from Staten Island who had like a little bit of a mullet, which means that he wanted a full mullet, but because of work, he cut his mullet a little bit short, so he was like that kind of guy. And he says to me, you know, you might not want to wear your Walkman into work. I mean, what if Joe, the CEO, saw you and he said hi and you didn't say hi back? I think the heavens would burst open and frogs would rain down upon us and the seas would boil and we would all bleed from our eyes. I can't even believe you asked me that question. And then this one time we were having a conversation. We always had these meetings about like how to present ourselves and like how to conduct ourselves. It was like, you know, be clean shaven and be on time and don't read at your desk if you're on site at a client and all this crap. And one day Kevin, the VP of HR, gave us a talk about, told us a little story about conflict resolution. And he told us a story about his daughter. His daughter was getting made fun of on the school bus by this girl named Carrie. And she would come home crying and say, "Daddy, what do I do? Carrie's making fun of me." And he said, so I said to her, I said, "Honey, you just tell Carrie that you don't appreciate the behavior and you would like it to stop. And if you are really direct, she's going to listen." So she did. She goes, she tells Carrie, "I don't like it, blah, blah, blah." It doesn't work because they're children. So she comes back. "Dad, it didn't work." So I said, "Sweetie, you have to be firm. Tell her again. I don't like your behavior. It hurts my feelings and I'd really like it for you to stop." She does. Carrie doesn't stop. She comes back again and he goes, "Okay, so this is what I told her." Now, this little girl, Carrie, had a cleft in her chin. So I said to my daughter, I said, "Tell everybody on the bus that Carrie has a butt chin." She did, and it worked. And he concluded the story by saying, "Well, it wasn't my finest moment as a parent." What the fuck was the point of that story, dude? That was about conflict resolution. You loaded up a child with an insult for another child. How do you sleep at night, you son of a bitch? And then we had another meeting, and it was this other VP gave a rousing speech about this company and how he doesn't want this to be just a good company. He wants it to be a great company, and how we should all be so excited at this mission. And afterwards, he just this little group of us new hires. He was like, so what did you guys all think of the speech? And everybody else was like, I'm really inspired by that. I think that like I'm really ready to work hard and I'm into this. And like he said, Rob, what do you think? And I was like, yeah, I don't know if I get it really. Like I like working, I'll work, but does this have to be my life? Do you know what I mean? Another thing I don't like about myself is I don't know when to keep my damn mouth shut. I don't have to lie, but I don't have to volunteer either. Do you know what I mean? So a couple weeks after that meeting, my manager, Ben Mullet, says that we're going to have a special meeting in the HR office and that I should bring my laptop, my company-issued laptop. So I meet him in the hallway, he takes me down the hall, and I realize I'm the only one in the meeting. He lets me go, and I knew that I was dead. I knew that I was getting fired. And I went and got way ahead of myself again. I was just like, that's it. I failed. My life's over. Like, I'm never going to work again. I'm going to have to move back to Rochester. You know what I mean? I'm going to have to live in my parents' basement. I'm going to be that weird guy who went to New York and moved to his parents' basement. And like, you know, people will take pity on me for a little while, give me odd jobs and stuff like that. But pretty soon, I'm just going to be like that weird dude around town. Maybe I'll like hang outside the 7-Eleven, or then I'll be this weird drunk. You know what I mean? I'll just be one of the barflies in like a local bar. I'll be that like really sad guy who like cracks an egg in his beer in the morning and drinks that. And then one day, me and the rest of the barflies will be in the bar, and then a rerun of Sex and the City will come on the TV. And I'll say to everybody, you know, I used to live in New York for a little bit, and everybody's gonna groan because they've heard that story so many goddamn times. But he offers me a branch. He says, you know what, Bob? And I fucking hate people who see that my name is Robert and they assume that my name is Bob. But we'll deal with that another time. So listen, Bob, what you can do is we've decided that you're not really a fit for this company. We can either let you go or you can resign. And then he slides the resignation letter across the desk to me. And I thought, oh, maybe it'll look better if I resign, right? And he's telling me to resign. I guess I'll resign. And I signed my name and I slid it back and then I left, feeling like a failure. I walked all the way home to my Manhattan apartment in my new suit. Now, what Kevin knew and what I didn't know was that by tricking me into resigning, I forfeited any claims to unemployment or anything like that. It was like a dirty scam trick. Like, I don't know, again, this face, like they just know that they can, that guy. And it was that experience and not Sex and the City that actually prepared me for life in New York. That was like the first time I ever really got screwed over. And I was fine, you know what I mean? I did land on my feet. It was the late 90s, so I got a job like a month later, and I've stayed here ever since. And sometimes I think back on that, and I think about that story, and I think I know the point of Kevin's butt chin story, and that is try to do the right thing unless it gets a little bit difficult, and then fight dirty.